Hi, I'm Don Boomgaarden, President of St. Joseph's College, and I'd like to welcome you to St. Joseph's College, Living Our Mission. St. Joseph's was founded in 1916 and has a rich and deep history. We pride ourselves on the fact that our ideals and commitment to enriching the lives of students have not changed since we opened our doors, and that our students lead lives dedicated to service and helping others, much like the spirit of the college's founders, the Sisters of St. Joseph. We have two campuses, one in Brooklyn, New York, bringing culture and beauty to complement and enhance Clinton Hill, a dynamic neighborhood. SJC Long Island is minutes from downtown Patchogue, situated near the Patchogue Lakes and the waves and the scenic East End. Thank you for joining us. In this program, we will be discussing ethics and access as it relates to admissions at St. Joseph's College. To speak more about this is Christine Murphy, Vice President for Enrollment Management at SJC Brooklyn, and Catherine Meehan, Director of the ACES program at SJC Brooklyn. Welcome, Christine and Catherine.
Thank you, Don.
Today's discussion is really very, very current, right? Because there's been a lot of news about college admissions lately. And some colleges are paying a rather steep price for not looking at their processes in a very ethical fashion. So I think that one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you both today was to talk a little bit about how we approach such things at St. Joseph's College and the special characteristics that St. Joseph's offers to the students and the kinds of things that we've been able to do for them through this very, very complex process. There's probably nothing quite as frightening to a young person as applying to college. And there are an awful lot of things which can prevent students and even their parents from understanding the system because it can seem rather arcane and difficult. And I think that at St. Joseph's we're trying very hard to demystify that process. But first let me turn to the ethical issue. Christine, if you could talk a little bit about the issue of ethics in college admissions today from your point of view.
That's certainly refreshing to talk about ethics in the process. You know, obviously it's my career and profession, and I followed that story quite closely. And while it was really sad and a lot of instances where ethics was lacking, it also made me proud of the work that we're doing here at the college and the students that we serve. I've overseen and led the admissions and financial aid office, as you know, here at the campus. And in my spare time, I also am involved with the National Association for College Admissions Counseling and the New York State Association for College Admissions Counseling. And we have a governing document.
Code of ethics for the
Code of
association.
Ethics and professional practices for the association. And in my role with those associations, I had the opportunity to chair the committee that would be responsible for promoting and educating all of those that are involved in the admissions process on all different sides. So certainly I think organically that my professional work with the mission of the college has really allowed our team to organically integrate ethics into everything that we do, every conversation. To give you some more specific examples, truth and transparency is core into the way that we communicate with students about the deadlines, our scholarships, admissions process and decisions. We also try to make it simplistic. We try to make it direct and take any complexity out because, as you said, it is anxiety-filling, and we try to make it as simplistic as possible.
I think that when I talk to students and parents frequently, they will come to me with questions about admissions that even I struggle to answer because depending on one's economic situation, the types of grant aid that's available, and of course at St. Joseph's we take full advantage of these things. That's one of the reasons we're able to have the wonderful students we have is many times we can find ways for them to come to college which before they had no idea that those resources were there. Plus of course we're very proud of our own scholarship opportunities that we generate through giving and through our endowment. But I think that the ethical issue that you mentioned, and we're so proud of you, by the way, for the work that you're doing with the association, I think that for our average viewers, I want to make sure they understand that those are very exceptional cases, that the vast majority of professionals in enrollment management would not even consider some of the things that have gone on in some of those schools. And it is a very sad thing because, in a sense, it can tarnish almost the entire profession. And I think that what I would say is that yes, there are a few bad apples there, but not that many, and certainly at St. Joseph's College that would be unheard of. That's just not the way we do business. We do go the extra yard for students, certainly, and we spend a lot of time working with them on an individual basis. But our whole ethos, our approach is really to help exactly those students that are struggling the most to get into schools. And they're coming here for all the best reasons. They simply want to maybe be the first person in their family that has ever gone to college. Yeah. And we have many first-generation students here. We also have many students who are working full-time, in some cases, students that are coming to us in their 20s and 30s, former veterans, you name it. There's every conceivable type of student that's coming to us, and we're striving so hard to help them. So Kate, that brings me to you because you're the director of one of the most interesting programs we have, the ACES program. So tell me a little bit about that program.
That's right. Thank you, Don. So the ACES program is the Academic Center for English Studies, and it's an incredibly unique program at St. Joseph's College. We are an intensive learning community for students who are recent immigrants, who are international students, and they all have one thing in common, and that is that English is not their native language. It's not their first, it's sometimes not their second or third language. In addition, they're all academically high achieving. So these students come and receive a scholarship at St. Joseph's College and are participant in a specialized curriculum. It's a hybrid composition and literature offering with a lab. Science classes have a lab, our classes have a lab too, to practice your writing in a studio environment. And we are a tight-knit community of professors, of students, of tutors. And we have rigorous expectations, but I think just as strong as our sense of nurturing and support around getting through those 4 years of college. I think another thing that's important to mention, something that makes us special or makes us unique, is that ACES was born out of the mission of the Sisters of St. Joseph's, who believed that access to education is something that everyone should have, and that we should participate in that and practice that at St. Joseph's. So our students are a product of that, and I think also that our students are truly what makes St. Joseph's College such a diverse and such a vibrant learning community. They come from over 40 countries. They speak more languages than that, and they bring all of that to the classroom every day.
I've had several chances really to be with them, and it's always delightful. And I have a special passion for this too, because I was a student in Austria many years ago, where I was having to go to school in a foreign language, and I was just like one of them. I was struggling in the academic system, and I was having to write papers and give presentations in a different language. And I know that they're not only doing that, but they're also out in the world trying to conduct their daily business. And so I think that, Kate, as you said, the Sisters' vision here is that we'll take the international students, and in fact we'll go one better. We'll also help them to integrate into our society, into our language, give them the opportunity to really excel, and at the same time constantly support them through various activities where they're together. There's a sense of comradeship, there's a kind of a cohort feeling, and there's over 100 of them, right? I mean, there's a large number of them here. So we're not talking about a small part of our student population. Many colleges talk about having that kind of diversity, but St. Joseph's really has it.
We have it, and I think that social learning aspect that you just hit on is really important. Our students are in class together, but we do things with one another outside of the curriculum. We see great theater, we attend different dinners with one another, and that builds a really strong sense of I think, camaraderie and friendship.
And you and Christine, I'm sure, work closely together because sometimes the needs of those students are very special, right, in terms of admissions and enrollment management.
Absolutely, you're right, Don. Something you often say is that we try to meet students where they are and transform them. And I think the ACES program is a really good example of that, and a way in which we collaborate with our colleagues across campus to make that happen. So we have a collaborative admissions process. Our admission counselors will review the students, really taking a holistic approach, understanding their background, their needs, their interests, and what they need to be successful. We collaborate with Kate and her team, and we will coordinate and organize interviews and make it a more extensive review and admissions process as we select students to come into our ACES program. One of the really unique things too about the ACES program is the college, in truly living its mission, has also dedicated some financial resources in the term of scholarship. We offer an ACES grant specifically to students who are selected for this program and go through this extensive review process, because as Kate said, they really contribute to our community in so many ways, and in ways that are related to our mission and important to us. So they're a wonderful group, and Kate's been a wonderful partner to work with, and it's some of the unique things that we're doing in terms of taking an approach that is, unique for the admissions process and more comprehensive, and I think ethical as well.
Well, I think that's the tie-in really between the ACES program and the mission of our college. Is we're actually giving them the kind of education that we claim that we stand for, and that every school should strive to do. And I think that so many schools are striving to do. If the average person could spend 10 or 15 minutes in the classroom with those ACES kids, I think they would go away feeling very affirmed about young people today and the future of our country, because they come from all over the world. They're here. They want to be a part of the United States. They want to contribute to the future of the country, but they're also doing something which is really truly transformational and really, really important to us. So we're very proud of the ACES program. I'm so proud of our enrollment management team. I know we had a very successful year this year in terms of enrollment, and here in Brooklyn in particular, we've been doing very, very well with that on both campuses, really. And you two are no small part of that puzzle, so thank you so much. And we have to take a quick break, but still to come, Michael Hannafy, Interim Executive Dean and Professor of Biology at SJC Brooklyn, and he's going to talk about academic life and the health sciences field at St. Joseph's, and this is something you won't want to miss. Stay tuned. Welcome back to St. Joseph's College, Living Our Mission. Thank you for joining us. In this segment, we will be discussing academics, programs in the health sciences at St. Joseph's College, and how our mission is to provide a strong academic and value-oriented education, rooted in the liberal arts tradition that supports provision for career preparation and enhancement. To speak more about this is Dr. Michael Hannafy, Interim Executive Dean and Professor of Biology at SJC Brooklyn. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Don.
So happy to have you here. We spend so much time together, of course, that doing an interview like this seems very natural, because we've discussed about everything under the sun. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about academics. And one of the things which sets St. Joseph's apart from many other schools is the quality of academics, the desire for excellence in our academic programs. And as the dean of the college, this is an important part of your daily work. So I guess one of the first questions I'd have for you is, you started here at St. Joseph's as a professor, and now you're a dean. Tell me a little bit about that process and how all that happened.
This is my 20th year. So I came to the college in 1999 as a professor of biology. I had previously taught in high school. And it's been a wonderful experience teaching here. The students are terrific. The rest of the faculty is great. So when you asked me to serve as interim dean for a brief period of time, it was an easy decision for me, because I know the students and I know the faculty. The faculty do a beautiful quality job. They really are not just excellent teachers, but excellent scholars in their discipline. And so it was really kind of a pleasure to take over and lead them for these 2 years.
Well, I think that certainly you embody a lot of the things that have made St. Joseph's famous in terms of offering a really great quality education, but one that's very personalized to each student. And so you've worked individually, you've worked with classes, you've worked in advising, you've worked on every single level of academics here at the college. And you've also seen, of course, your colleagues in all the other departments now doing that. So that must give you a kind of an interesting vision of the entire campus here in Brooklyn.
It does. It does. At one point I was the chair of the curriculum committee when it was time for us to redo the curriculum. And that was a wonderful experience, because we worked on both campuses with the faculty on both campuses. And in many in most cases, we were all in total agreement as to what we wanted. The college's commitment to education grounded in the liberal arts and sciences was important to not just the 40 faculty on this campus, but the 160 that are on both campuses. And so it was a wonderful process to go through to revise that curriculum, and it's worked very well for the last 6 or 7 years that we've been using that curriculum.
St. Joseph's is a school that it has a liberal arts tradition, and of course is a part of the Catholic tradition in the liberal arts. How would you describe that if someone were to ask you, tell me what it's like at St. Joseph's? What do they mean when they say it's a school in the liberal arts tradition?
Well, I think the liberal arts, when we were creating the new core curriculum, it was important to us that we had was grounded in the liberal arts and sciences, and that it encompassed a broad range of knowledge, which is an important thing for any bachelor's degree education. We also added components to it, in required components in writing and technology and service and experiential learning and diversity, things that we thought really were important for educating the total student. In terms of the liberal arts and sciences, I think that the greatest thing that it does is that it lets you see how problems are solved by people in different disciplines. The same problem can be looked at in different ways by the poets and historians and scientists and mathematicians and philosophers. It helps us to seeing how different people think is important for students to develop their own critical thinking skills, as well as to be able to collaborate and work together in whatever job they go into.
The students that we attract also join us for our graduate programs as well. How do those graduate programs fit into the liberal arts college tradition?
I mean, some of them draw from what have been our strengths over the years. We've been known for many years as a college that prepares excellent teachers. We have the Dillon Center here that it's celebrating its 85th anniversary. It's it may be the oldest experimental laboratory preschool on the East Coast. And we have two graduate programs that come out of that tradition. The graduate program in literacy and cognition, and the program in special education. And those both are tied directly to the kinds of undergraduate work that we do. We also have degrees in the businesses. We have a master's in fine arts that ties beautifully to the humanities programs that we have here.
I think that many people are surprised initially when I start talking about the college, and they begin to realize that although we do have a fine undergraduate program, we also have very strong graduate programs in many of the professional fields. And as you said, a lot of those undergraduate degrees feed into those programs very nicely. We also combine that with many, many online possibilities for our students, and so those things fold together beautifully. You have a special interest, of course, in the sciences, and tell me a little bit about first what created your interest originally in the sciences, and then also tell me a little bit about our programs.
When I went to college, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to major in. I could have majored in any of the other liberal arts fields. I had a variety of interests. But I think somebody said to me, well, you're smart, you should be a doctor. And so I went into biology, but I loved it for biology's sake. And so I decided not to go the medical route, but to teach, because I enjoyed that as well. We have while we're known as a teacher education college, we have a long tradition in the sciences. In the first graduating class in 1920, one of the 12 graduates, became a physician, which was unusual for a young woman at that time.
Absolutely.
Just in the last 5 years, we've turned out, from the biology and chemistry major, we've turned out, I think, three MDs, 2 osteopaths, 3 podiatrists, a couple of dentists. So we've always been preparing students in the medical and in the science and health fields. Our nursing program now is doing very well. We have a 4-year degree in nursing that will graduate the first cohort in May. I'm very happy to see them, because I taught them microbiology, so I'm looking forward to seeing them graduate. But the nursing program goes back to the mid-'80s, because we've had an RN to BSN program there since the mid-'80s for people who were registered nurses or had associate's degrees and wanted to complete their bachelor's. We've had master's degrees in nursing since 2005. And we have a whole bunch of other related degrees.
I think particularly with the nurses, but we could say this about the others, whatever the scientific discipline might be, the student is still getting that same core education.
Right.
They're getting a chance to learn how to write, to speak well, their approach to arithmetic and mathematics is incredibly important. And so all of those things kind of come together, whatever you're majoring in. And I think that's one of the reasons when the students go out, they do so well.
Right. I think it's been always the philosophy in my department, the biology department, that they have a broad education in biology. In recent years, more and more undergraduate institutions have been specializing at the undergraduate level, and I think that sometimes that doesn't give you the broad view of the field, like a field as broad as biology or chemistry or any of these. So we're committed to that broad education first and allow you to specialize as you move forward.
I've spoken with many professionals, even members of our board, about their frustration at looking for people to fill positions, and what they most desire is that the people speak, write, can do mathematics, very, very simple types of things, and sometimes that over-specialization will prevent that from happening.
Right. Those are the benefits of an education in liberal arts and sciences, that you have those kinds of skills, critical thinking skills, the ability to communicate, the ability to work with other people, collaborate and persuade people. And ultimately, they're the skills that are needed in leadership positions.
Tell me a little bit about how the faculty interact with the students and assist them in their academic journeys, because there's a lot more than just what goes on in the classroom.
Oh yes, I mean, all the faculty serve as academic advisors on both our campuses, both on the Long Island campus and here in Brooklyn. But the Brooklyn campus is a little smaller, and so some of the classes run a little smaller, and we really know our students. In fact, I was informed that there are 4 of them who have returned to the class of 2016 that were saying, "Where's Dr. Hanafi?" And they wanted to find me. So, one of them is in medical school, one of them is in dental school.
So that close personal relationship, you're serving as a mentor, and I think that's something that many times parents don't understand, is that when your student attends a college, that they're really building their relationships for the future, so that professor may open the door to their career in ways that they'll be surprised in terms of the connections that they have.
Because of the connections and the advice that you can give. I find that when students enter as biology majors starting out, they always are going to be medical doctors, and they're all going to be cardiologists and pediatricians too. And that's because they don't have a good idea of the breadth of the field and the myriad of other jobs that are available to them. And that's really our job, is to help them not just with academic counseling, but also with career counseling. Let them, what are these interesting areas that you might find more interesting than to be a physician, and how do we get prepared for that?
Yeah, and I think in your area in particular, you're probably frequently talking to students about the fact that your parents or others in your family may want you to do something, but that may not fit your real natural abilities, and you're really not going to be happy doing that.
Sometimes career counseling and academic advisement is not just with the students.
That's right.
It can be with their parents and convincing them that this is a viable path, that they'll have a good life and a good career.
Yeah. If you were to describe the academic environment on the campus of St. Joseph's Brooklyn to an outsider, how would you describe it?
It's a vibrant community. I mean, faculty and staff and students work together in ways that you don't necessarily see at other colleges. I mean, I'm as likely to get a call from some member of the staff who is concerned for a student that they've seen in their office, or from a faculty member. So everybody's here looking out for you and making sure that you have what you need to succeed.
That's fantastic. I think that the description of it as a vibrant community is perfect. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for watching St. Joseph's College, Living Our Mission. We hope to see you again very soon.